Week 4 of the fantasy football season. Here's the top 12 defense DST units. I'm ranking this week number 1, the Kansas City Chiefs. So this week, a great matchup at the Los Angeles Chargers. They don't really have amazing weapons on the offense anymore to make big plays and break open games. I know J.K. Dobbins got off to a good start first few games of the season, but Justin Herbert's banged up. Even if he does play or doesn't play in this game, I believe Kansas City could get sacks in this one early and often. I think they could hold down in the Chargers offense mid-teens, low 20s, and make a few plays. Like I said, we saw last week, they didn't move the football at all versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, was the Los Angeles Chargers. And this week, I think the Kansas City Chiefs go out there, have a solid performance. Number 2, the New York Jets. Last week, the Jets defense, they stifled Jacoby Brissett and the New England offense. They couldn't do anything, only scoring 3 points in that game. The only thing you want to see a little bit more turnovers created by this New York Jet team. This week, a decent matchup versus the Denver Broncos. Even though I thought last week Tampa Bay was going to have a good game versus Bronco offense. But Bo Nix, he had poise in the pocket. He went out there and made plays. But this week at the Jets, I don't think Bo Nix is going to do that once again, where they don't have a lot of reliable weapons in their offense, is this Denver Bronco team. And this Jets secondary solid, and the pass rush as well. To put a lot of pressure on Bo Nix and create mistakes this week. Number 3, the San Francisco 49ers is a good matchup versus the New England Patriots. Like I just mentioned, the Patriots only scoring 3 points last week. And this Niner team, they know they got to get back to the basics on defense after blowing the game last week 24-14 versus an undermanned Los Angeles Ram team. But this week, I think they're going to get to Jacoby Brissett early and often. You know, Nick Bosa making an impact in this game, Fred Warner. And this Patriot offensive line just isn't all that good. And also, they don't really have any proven wide receivers on the outsides. I think San Francisco buckles down in this one after losing 2 in a row and puts on a great performance defensively. Number 4, the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers defense, one of the best units in the league. They're just holding teams down. And this week, a good matchup at the Indianapolis Colts with Anthony Richardson. He's had some trouble over the last few weeks with bad turnovers and plays you just can't explain why he's making some of these throws. So this week, I think Pittsburgh, led by T.J. Watt's going to get pressure on Anthony Richardson early and often. And their focus is going to have to be stopping Jonathan Taylor. But besides that, Michael Pittman and the receiving crew haven't done much as well for this Indianapolis Colts team. So this week, I like the matchup a lot for Pittsburgh. And I think they go out there once again and play great defense. Number 5, the Minnesota Vikings. This Viking team playing great football so far defensively, and definitely a surprise coming into the season where they've changed a lot of things. Brian Flores brought in as a defensive coordinator, and this week a division matchup at the Green Bay Packers where we'll see if Jordan Love returns in this game. But Minnesota, they're getting a lot of pressure amongst the league leaders in sacks this season, creating turnovers, and they're holding offenses down. We just saw them beat San Francisco pretty easily in week 2. And then last week blowing out a high-powered Houston Texan offense 34-7. So this week, I think they could create pressure. I think they could get some sacks, create a few turnovers, and they're a top 5 option. Number 6, the Cleveland Browns. This week, a good matchup at the Vegas Raiders. But last week, I thought they had a good matchup as well with the Giants going into the dog pound. And they couldn't do anything really in terms of fantasy football purposes was this Brown team. So this week, I'll give them one more shot in a good matchup with Las Vegas. They're sticking with Gardner Minshew at the quarterback position, even though Antonio Pierce, he was really thinking of making the change and going to Aiden O'Connell. But for this week, they're starting Minshew once again is Vegas. And they got good weapons, Devontae Adams and Brock Bowers, but they pretty much have non-existent running game. And this is why I think the Browns are going to do, stop that running game and let Gardner Minshew try to beat them in this one. Number 7, the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys defense, they've been torched the last 2 weeks. 44 points to the Saints in week 2 and 28 points early in that ball game versus the Baltimore Ravens. So now they go on the road Thursday Night Football at the New York Giants. And the Cowboys, they've had a good track record the last 4 or 5 seasons versus New York Giant team where they dominated the series and they've made big plays. So this defense, they got to get back to the basics as well. They got to get off the field on 3rd down. And this week, maybe it could get right a little bit versus Daniel Jones, who's not a good quarterback. And besides Malik Neighbors and a little bit of Devin Singletary, there's not many threats on this New York Giant offense. I think the Cowboys, knowing the Giants offense, knowing their schemes the last few seasons, and getting pressure on Daniel Jones has been a key for them. I think this week they go out there, have a decent performance. Number 8, the Houston Texans. The Texans defense got torched last week by Sam Darnold. and the high-powered Minnesota Viking offense so far in the early going. And this week, a good matchup versus the Jacksonville Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence. He's definitely taken a step back over the last season and change, where at times he looks lost out there. They're not making the right play calls, and he's been a turnover machine amongst the league leaders in turnovers over the last 2 seasons. So after getting embarrassed last week as this Houston Texan team, I think their defense goes out there and has a decent performance. Number 9, the Chicago Bears. The Bears DST's been a solid unit, creating some turnovers, keeping the score down for the most part over the last couple weeks. And this week, good matchup with the Los Angeles Rams. Well, we know this Ram team, they don't travel well to the East Coast for the most part. And to be down, obviously, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, who already has been ruled out, even though we know it's been a multiple-week injury since he got hurt. They said it was going to be for Cooper Kupp. So this week with a good matchup, and pretty much if they could bottle up Kyren Williams for the most part in this game and make wide receivers like DeMarcus Robertson, Tutu Atwell try to beat them in the passing game, I think once again it's going to be a decent performance at minimum for Chicago. Number 10, the Miami Dolphins, who has a 1-week use. Great matchup with the Tennessee Titans coming to town on Monday Night Football. And this Miami Dolphin team, I know the defense hasn't been good. Last week they got shredded by Zach Charbonnet and DK Metcalf in that game. But like I said, Will Levis is having trouble this season with turnovers. Offensive line isn't all that great. He's taking big hits. And the run game's been inconsistent as well with Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. So I think this week, Miami, Monday night, they know they need a win. They know they need to rally and create some turnovers to get their offense in better position. I think they come out with a decent performance. Number 11 staying in the same game, the Tennessee Titans DST. So Tennessee, their defense has been torched all season long, but it looks like it's either going to be Tim Boyle or Tyler Huntley, who just signed with this Miami Dolphin team a few weeks ago, where he's not up to snuff with the playbook, even though I'd rather see Tyler Huntley out there than Tim Boyle, and he gives the Dolphins a better chance of winning this game than a Tim Boyle, in my opinion. But Tennessee, we've seen some games over the years where they surprise, create turnovers, and get to the quarterback. And this week, like I said, even if Huntley's starting, he's not going to know the playbook much for this Miami Dolphin team. And also, he's a quarterback that's taken a lot of sacks as well when he was with the Baltimore Ravens filling in for Lamar over the last few seasons. And the 12th and final defense I'm ranking is the Philadelphia Eagles. So last week, surprisingly, the Eagles went into New Orleans after the first 2 weeks. They're giving up a lot of points and a bad ending to week 2, losing at the end in the last drive to Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons. So this week at Tampa Bay, I think they could have a decent performance. We saw Tampa Bay get shut down by the Denver Broncos last week. And this Philadelphia Eagle team, they got a young secondary, but one of the more upside secondaries in the league. And their pass rush still has some juice left to it, I believe, for this Philadelphia Eagle team. So last week, after a nice victory and holding down the Saints offense, I think they could have a decent performance this week at Tampa Bay, where their run game, for the most part, has been non-existent, especially Rashad White. So that's a top 12 defense DST unit I'm ranking for week 4 of the fantasy football season.